recording and live streaming, and I'll let you know when we're ready to start, Chair. Okay, Chair, we're ready to start.
Diolch, Sally. Bore da. Good morning, croeso. Welcome to everyone to today's meeting of Council, where we are all attending remotely. Can I advise members that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed? All microphones will be muted unless you indicate your wish to speak, at which point I will call out your name and you will need to turn your microphone on. Can I also remind members to choose their language of choice, as translation facilities are available, and that if you wish to speak, that you use the raise hand functions. You can also use the chat facilities. Thank you. Prayers to be offered by Councillor Sam Cotton. Can I invite Councillor Sam Cotton, please?
Thank you, Chair. So, with a boundless heart, should one cherish all living things, radiating kindness over the entire world, upwards towards the sky, downwards towards the depths, omitting none. May you be happy, may you be at ease, may you be free from danger, and may you be loved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Sam. Moving on to the agenda. Item 1 for apologies for absence.
Yeah, apologies received from Councillor Michael Smith.
Any other apologies, Sally?
Chair, if I could, Councillor Dave Johnson is going for a pre-op today, so he's given his apologies.
Thank you, Councillor Nigel, and our thoughts with Councillor Johnson. Thank you for that. Any other apologies? Right. Item 2, declare of interest, Code of Local Government's Conduct. If I may start, I'm declaring interest on item 12, at which point I will be put on waiting room, and Councillor Ivor will chair this item. Any other members wish to declare any interest?
I've got Councillor Susan Shotter and Councillor Louise Emery wishing to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also item 12. I will be also leaving the Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Louise. And Councillor Susho.
Hi. Give me 2 minutes, please. Give me 2 minutes.
Hi. Good morning, Chairman. As usual, I shall be leaving the virtual chamber for item number 12.
Thank you. And Keith, is it Keith Eales, Councillor? Councillor Keith Eales, I have.
Sorry, Chair. I'm trying to juggle a few things at the moment. Can I also declare an interest in item 12, please?
Okay, multitasking is for ladies only, please.
She's working.
Okay, noted, Councillor Keith. And Councillor Mark Baker, next.
Hello, Chair. I've got an interest for item 12 as well, so I'll be leaving for that part of the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Mark. Councillor Phil Cupper, next.
Item 12, Mr. Chairman, same interest. I'll be leaving the meeting.
Okay, and next is Councillor Nigel Smith.
Yeah, same reasons. I'll be leaving for item 12.
Excellent. So I think that's it. I don't see anybody on my screen. Sally, have I missed anyone?
No, that's everybody, I think, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right. Next one is to approve the minutes of the last council meeting. And for the record, I will go page by page. So if we may start on page 4. Page 5. Page 6. 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. Don't have anybody wish to speak on that point. So can I have some proposer and a seconder for the proposal of correct minutes, please?
Happy to propose the minutes, Chair.
Okay, got Councillor Nigel Smith
And I'm happy to second. Chair.
and Councillor Brian Cossis, I think, has seconded. So if you could show by raise of hands, please, that you
If we
agree.
could, Chair, could we just
Or
use
do
the
you
the
want
red
to
and
take a
the
vote?
red and
Sorry.
green?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
So we're going to take vote, and I think Sally, you're going to call the name out, are you, or just the vote? Sorry.
It'll just be the
Yes for
results for this one.
yes, green for yes, and tick for no. Please, if you vote. I think that's carried.
Yeah, so we have 37 votes for the minutes.
Okay. Anybody?
It didn't come up on my screen then, Abdul. Yeah.
Right.
Didn't come up on mine.
No, not mine. No, mine.
Just to confirm to members, it's not a poll. It's always on your screen, so it should be under the list of attendees.
Yeah. So if you go to the participants icon, and then the icon of raise hand, yes for tick and no for cross should appear.
Where's the raised hand?
Participant icon on, if you have iPad is on top of the right hand screen.
The screen.
Can you say again, Abdul, please?
I'll get our expertise in. Shan is going to go through that.
Right, so for those councillors that are on a laptop, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the icon with participants. If you click on that, you will then see symbols at the bottom. If you're voting in favour, please use the green tick. If you're voting against, use the red cross. If you're on an iPad, top right hand corner, you will either have the participants icon, so do the same again, press that and you'll see the symbols appear. Green tick for yes, red cross for no. If you're abstaining, do not select anything.
I've got it.
Sean, is it automatic? We don't have to do anything else. Once we pick the icon, that's it, is it?
Yes.
So you just come out of that and it's already there, yeah?
I have 45 votes for the minutes, so that does mean some councillors still haven't voted.
But that's the majority in favour.
That's 47. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm still having trouble.
Okay, Councillor Jenkins.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? On top of your iPad screen,
yeah,
can you press on top and participants should come up? The icon for participants.
I've got it. Yeah, I got it.
If you press that now,
yeah,
you should have the list
I
of
see,
the.
I got it.
Yeah.
And
So green for agreeing with the minutes, and red for not agreeing with the minutes.
okay.
Are you with majority or minority?
Okay,
That's done. Excellent. Thank you all. That's carried. Okay. Can we move on to item 4 now? And regarding urgent matters, I don't have any.
I'm not aware of any, Chair.
Okay. And next item is item 5, to receive any announcement from the chairman. Well, I don't have announcement as such, but I would like to acknowledge the reconciliation letter that Sam Parry and her team has received from the North Wales Probation Services for the exceptional service provided by the Conway Housing and the homelessness team. I think it's a fitting tribute in this present climate. Also, I like to congratulate Sarah Jacob on her new post and for the recent successful application made by her team to the Art Council of Wales, resulting in us receiving a significant grant aid for Venue Cymru and Theatre Colwyn. Members, despite these testing times, I think it, for us, it's business as usual in Conway County Borough Councils. And both members and officers are working tirelessly to provide the vital service for our communities. My only plea would be to request everyone to go this extra mile in looking for the vulnerable people within our community and make sure no one is off our radar. And lastly, love and respect for all is needed more now than ever. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask the leader if he has any announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lots of love and respect for you too at this time. I've got a few announcements just to share with members. Of course, we're all aware that tomorrow is the start of a 2-week or just over 2-week, 3-weekend national fire break, as it's being called here in Wales. So from, as a reminder for everybody, from 6 p.m. Tomorrow evening, the main 6 points that Welsh Government have brought in are that, first of all, people must stay at home, except for very limited purposes, such as for exercise. People must work from home wherever possible. People must not visit other households or meet other people they do not live with, either indoors and outdoors. No gatherings will be allowed outdoors. All non-food, retail, hospitality businesses, close contact services, and events and tourism businesses such as hotels must close. And community centres, libraries and recycling centres will be required to close as well. There's a lot more detail on the Welsh Government website, so I'd encourage us as members and our residents to access the frequently asked questions section on the Welsh Government website if there are any specific issues that people may have, or any specific questions that people may have as well. Just to share, Chairman, as one further thing, clearly then an important next step for us and for the country, I guess, is what happens after this fire break. So I just want to assure members that I'm very much involved in those discussions with Welsh Government. Today at 12 o'clock, the 6 North Wales leaders are meeting with the Welsh Government Cabinet to discuss how things may look in North Wales post this fire break, amongst other things as well. Also have a meeting with a further meeting at 5:30 today with the local government minister to discuss similar things and more particularly some of the specifics around this fire break. So that regular engagement with Welsh Government is continuing, and I'll continue to represent this local authority to the best of my ability in that. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Sam. I have got a few hands up from the cabinet members, but is there any question, I guess, for Councillor Sam, or can I move on? I don't see any other hand up. So can I bring Councillor Charlie in, then your hand got first.
Diolch the Borough Pawb. Thank you for your kind words about our housing team. They do some tremendous work, but I've also got some good news for members about our regulatory team. They've been awarded again the RSPCA Gold Award for the stray dog service that we offer it's quite a prestigious award. There's only Denbighshire, Wrexham and Newport throughout the Welsh authorities have been awarded this. I think as well, it's a department that's taken really substantial cuts over the years. So it's very much down to the hard work and dedication of Leanne Martin and her team that we continue to get this year on year. So I'd really like to thank them for all their hard work. It would have been nice if they were in the chamber to be for members to show their appreciation, but I'm sure you would all like to do that virtually if you can. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Charlie, and please convey our congratulations to the team. Councillor Chris Cater is next.
Yeah. Diolch Cadeirydd Abdul. This is more of a reminder for all members rather than an announcement. I would like to remind members that there's a visioning workshop, which is part of Workwise 2020, which is a members event on Monday, this coming Monday, 26th October at 2 p.m. This will be a chance for members to have their say on their remote experiences, you know, what's important to them and what they want to comment on. Sian Williams does need to know who is coming and who isn't, so she can organise the Zoom breakout rooms and also circulate the slides in advance to those that are attending. So I would urge you all please to reply to Sian's invitation, which you have had a few days ago. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Councillor Chris. I think Sian needs to know by today, is it? Tomorrow is the deadline. Thank you. Next is Councillor Craig.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Just a couple of notes following on from what Councillor Sam said. As a result of the fire break, the household waste recycling centres will be closing tomorrow. Obviously, all community skips are being suspended for this period. The harbours and sea and slipways will also be closed, and the Greater Orme car park will be closed. But we're hoping that the majority of our work will be able to continue, and our suppliers will still be feeding us the materials we need so we can carry on with the various projects we've got on around the county at the moment, which includes surfacing works and ongoing works for flood resilience. Also, on the flood resilience note, just to give you advise you all, the NRW report on storms Kira and Dennis was published this morning, and that is available on the NRW website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Craig. Councillor Gronway. Councillor Gronway, Edward, can you hear me?
Diolch, Abdul. Croeso bawb. Good morning, everybody. Just a quick announcement. I don't remember circulated members that I recently attended a meeting with the RWE, who invited me to present me with a presentation on the proposals for the new wind farm proposals off the coast. This is a significant development. They've secured rights from the Crown Estate for the area of land to the west of the existing wind farms. There will be a consultation period throughout November, and then they will continue to design the scheme up during the rest of 2021. This will then lead up to an application to the national government and also to the Welsh government for a licence. Now, this is a significant development if it comes about. We're talking about basically doubling the size of wind turbines out there in the sea. It'll extend to the west of the existing wind farm towards Anglesey. I met with them and to go through the presentation. I did repeat our position as far as Conway Councillor. We are very much in favour of a tidal lagoon, which we believe will secure a greater benefit both for energy production and for coastal protection well into the next generation. So that is ongoing. So members, please go on that website. I think I've circulated it again, the consultation information. So please go on that. I would also just like on the economic side to let you know that despite all these restrictions, ITV have been successful in continuing their planned projects in Cwrych Castle to put on the I'm a Celebrity. They work closely with both our offices and the police and the relevant departments to make sure that screening continues. I'm doing an interview this afternoon to BBC just to confirm the benefits to Conway, or the perceived benefits. Certainly a lot of businesses have already benefited from the works that have gone on there, and we welcome the fact that they can continue. It'll put Abigail, it'll put Conway and certainly North Wales on the map, and it's created an awful lot of interest, not just locally but nationally and all over the world, I believe. So just a short announcement, because we certainly need some good news in this current lockdown period. So that's my update.
Thank you, Councillor Grunway, and it is a good news. Shame that we are in lockdown, but it needs, that is the way we are at the moment, in uncertainty, but definitely some good news for the counties. Any other cabinet members wish to make any announcement? I'm just scrolling down. I don't have any hands up.
The Chief Executive?
Yes, that's it. I was going to say, if there's no other cabinet members, I'd like to invite the Chief Executive to come in. Ewan.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of things. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Sarah Ecob on her appointment to Head of Culture and Economy Service. And I'm sure you'll join me in wishing her well in this new and challenging role. At the same time, I'd like to thank Marianne Jackson for her many years of dedicated, loyal service to the council, to her colleagues, and indeed to me. Marianne has presided over many achievements within CDS. Let's not forget that 12 or so years ago, when Marianne started, the prospect of Arias Park hosting international rugby, I don't think it was even a dream in John Hardy's mind. She's presided over that. She's also presided over library service modernisation, which again, over many years, appeared impossible. And it's culminated now in the Culture Centre being opened earlier this year in Conway. So I'd just like to just mention those things, just as a recognition, as part of the part of what Marianne has played in Conway and for the people of Conway. My third bit and final bit is I want to take this opportunity to thank all of my council colleagues through all services, all corners, all schools who are currently having a well-deserved half-term break. I'd like to thank you all, them all, for the extra efforts that they've been making through these difficult times. I believe it's a privilege to work in the public sector. I happen to believe it's a particular privilege to work for Conway County Borough Council, but that doesn't mean for 1 minute that it's easy to work in this environment, and it's been especially difficult in recent months and now. But I've witnessed so many examples of my colleagues rising to the challenge that this pandemic has presented, continues to present, and will present. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank them in public in this environment. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you, Johan. I think I echo, and I'm sure all the members does echo your sentiment. Can I also ask you to convey our appreciation to Marianne Jackson, please? I know Marianne for a long time, and as you said rightly, because she done a number of projects in Column Bay, I had the opportunity to work with us and my colleague Chris as well, and all the Column Bay members. So yes, please pass on our appreciation. Thank you. If there's no other announcement, I'd like to move on to item number 6, which is to answer question on the Council Procedure Rule number 14.2, question to the leader from Councillor Anne. Now, the question itself is self-explanatory, but I'll just go through the note under our rules for our benefit. I'd just like to read that. Under our rules of procedure, the question will be put and the answers without discussion. Councillor Anne, as the member asking the question, may ask one supplementary question without notice. But the supplementary question must be something that has arisen directly out of the original question or the reply. So on that note, I don't know if Councillor Anne wants to come and put your question, or it's already on the paper. I'll give the opportunity to Councillor Anne if she may wish to come on, and I'll see if you put your hand up. If you haven't, then I'll ask the leader to answer the question. No. So Councillor Sam.
No.
Sorry, Councillor Anne.
Yeah. Thanks, Chair.
Okay.
I'd just like to say a couple of words just before we ask Sam to ask the question. First of all, morning members, and as you'll gather, my question to Councillor Sam is about the COVID-19 virus. The virus is embedded in our communities, it's deadly, and it seems to be spiralling out of control. To date, approximately 1,300 Conwy people have caught the virus. And yesterday's information that the last 7 days, 134 people have been infected. And the best information I have in terms of, unfortunately, residents who have died with this virus is a figure around about 191. We're 8 months into the virus, and national politicians are still continuing to argue about the facts, about the science, and about the evidence. In fact, to be honest, don't we all? But how much do we really know about what's happening in our own backyard? So my question to Councillor Sam is, what local granular information does our leader have access to inform his regular strategic discussions with Welsh Government, Betsy Cadwallader and others about how to minimise the impact and transition of the virus within our county? Thanks.
Okay, second, Mr. Chairman.
Please do come in. Thank you, Councillor Sam.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Councillor Anne, for the question as well. And as rightly pointed out in the preamble, huge number of people in our community have been and are being affected by COVID-19 at the moment. It is pleasing to see over the last 7 days that the numbers here in Conwy have been reducing, which is a great credit to our residents and everybody who's responding to this in the appropriate way at the moment. So a big thank you to everybody for doing all they can to keep this virus to a low level as possible. In response to the question, though, as you'd expect, there is a huge amount of information that our officers are able to use from TTP, in particular the track, trace and protect data that we have. That is layered upon information shared by Public Health Wales and of course from the Health Board as well. Just to give it a flavour of what this looks like, we know, as Councillor Anne alluded to there, that the number of cases in our region, for example, over the last 4 weeks in North Wales, there's been over 3,000 cases of COVID-19 in North Wales, and that has generated over 12,500 contacts for the TTP teams in North Wales to get in touch with. For us here in Conwy then, so bringing that down to a more localised level, again, just as an example of how this works, since the start of September, there have been 619 COVID cases for us in Conwy, which has generated around 3,000 contacts. Those contacts are then spoken to from our track, trace and protect team. We have a 96% success rate in speaking to those contacts, which is a really, really impressive level of contact with those people. And a lot of the granular information that Councillor Anne is interested in is generated through those conversations. Then those conversations with residents or with businesses, we can understand where people live, where those businesses are located, of course, personal details about individuals around age, which help then also obviously to build a picture of who and where is getting affected at this time. A really interesting part of this work is in terms of specific locations as well. So the detail of this is not just down to a town level, but down to a premises or a site level as well, which is used to build up a picture of where possible contacts are, which is really useful information for us to use in our considerations. There's a huge amount of raw data which is reviewed and understood and fed into discussions. So those discussions take place. Members are not aware, we as Cabinet, we meet every day, which I'm sure is a joy for all the Cabinet members. We meet every day, normally for around an hour. At this meeting, Cabinet members will share any updated information from their services, so we can get a picture of what is happening across the authority, in addition to the TTP and the Public Health Wales information as well. So this helps to paint a picture, not just in terms of quantitative information in terms of data, but also a qualitative picture, so we can have a feel for things rather than just looking at raw numbers, which is only part of the picture. Of course, our Cabinet members gain a huge amount of information from their regular meetings with their heads of service, and I hope that the briefing that was held on Tuesday for members showed some of that information and some of the understanding from portfolio holders as to how COVID-19 is impacting their services and the authority as a whole at the moment. Another important meeting which takes place three times a week at the moment is a public spaces working group. In that meeting, there is the relevant portfolio holders alongside regulatory services, ERF, economic development teams, who are all sharing the latest position in terms of what's happening in our communities. And this is really important because this is the sort of boots on the ground information as well. So again, there's data on a screen, numbers, raw numbers in spreadsheets, but actually these officers are spending time with businesses in various premises, understanding what the issues may be and supporting them to be as COVID safe as possible and to open as long as possible within any restrictions that government may be putting in place. On top of this, I'm sure we're all aware there's a huge amount of information that other public bodies like Public Health Wales share. And I shared with members earlier this week, they've recently published the community-based kind of prevalence of COVID-19 on the Public Health Wales website, which is really useful, and there's lots of other data in there which feeds into our thinking as well. I receive regular updates from the Health Board, as well as regular meetings with the chairman of the Health Board as well. I had one such phone call from the chairman of the Health Board this morning, where we receive regular information as to how the Health Board is managing, coping with patients and others at the moment as well. So I think it paints a picture of huge amounts of information, both at a granular level and in terms of the bigger picture as well, all of which needs to be considered. And all of this information feeds through to me in not just a single meeting, as it were, but in all the discussions that we're having at the moment. I can probably say every meeting, every piece of work that we're doing at the moment always has a layer of COVID-19 thinking within it. So all that information, both in detail, a data level, and at a wider picture, feeds into my thinking for a considered response to any proposals that Welsh Government may be bringing through. And just to wrap up this point, Mr. Chairman, if I may as well, I'm sure members will be aware, but there is a presentation on TTP coming through to members before the end of this month. and I'm sure that will go through more detail as well, which members can join that. Thanks, Joe.
Oh, you're on mute, Chair.
Chair, can I come back to Councillor Sam?
Councillor, sorry about that. I had to unmute myself. Councillor Anne, would you like to come in?
Yeah, I would. And I'd really like to thank Sam for, an excellent, comprehensive response there. I think all of us would be really assured by what he's actually said in terms of the information that is available. And I particularly was impressed by the figure that he gave in terms of the TTP, which is the Track, Trace and Protect initiative, if it's running locally at 96%. And they're obviously dealing with quite a volume of contacts and sort of subsequent contacts. So patently that gives a lot of local information. So thanks, Sam, for that. I also thank you for passing on the information a day or two ago about Public Health Wales, because that's certainly a welcome improvement, really, because it starts to give a bit more local information that is meaningful for residents. So that's good news. But I'd like to just ask a supplementary question and just ask him to consider something. Other councils in Wales do publish the sort of data that he's intimated, that Sam's intimated, i.e. neighbourhood level data, presumably coming from their local TTP arrangements. So they're giving out information at ward level and indeed data about, for example, where transmission is happening and age ranges affected and changes and so on. A lot of this stuff, in fact, that Sam has mentioned. It's a fact, is it not, that closer to home stats, when they're made available, are more meaningful and arguably more impactful in raising awareness and, importantly, changing behaviour. So if residents knew where their really local hotspots were and how and where transmission is occurring, this would only help us minimise infection and additional deaths. So Sam, second question and supplementary question, would you consider publishing this Conwy neighbourhood information, ward specific, clearly identifying local hotspots and sharing how and where transmission is occurring? GPs, in fact, are asking for this information, which is quite surprising, but so are our residents. And I think it would help us all stay alert, stay socially distant, and even more importantly, in the next couple of weeks, compliant with the current fire break regulations.
Thank you, Councillor Anne. Before I bring in Councillor Sam, I think the Chief Executive and Councillor and others are working with multi-agencies. So I don't want to put Councillor Sam on the spot, but if you do know the answer, please answer it. Otherwise, you can always email us with the councillor distribution email. So do you want to come back, Councillor Sam?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do accept that part of my job is to be put on the spot, though, so that's not a problem at all. Thank you. As Councillor Anne mentioned, there's the recent publication by Public Health Wales is a real helpful move. For that to be managed centrally through them I think it's been a really good move as well. So certainly grateful to them for making that happen over the last few weeks. I'll take away certainly the points that Councillor Anne has made. If there is further ways in which we can provide detail that's going to be helpful for people, I'm more than happy to look at that if there's anything in addition to what Public Health Wales are currently doing. Need to be, I just want a word of caution with some of this, because when I refer to things like premises and things like that, much of that is often suspected. And so it's just being careful that we're not publishing information, sharing information which is going to perhaps cause any sense of unnecessary hysteria. So I agree with you, Councillor Anne, that we need to make sure that information is being shared appropriately at the right level, and I'll certainly see what addition we can share, which is going to be really helpful to our communities. So thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Sam, much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Anne and Sam. If we can now move on to item 7, appointment to the Democratic Service Committee. Council are requested to confirm the appointment of Councillor Ian Jenkins to the Democratic Service Committee. And on that point, I'd like to ask if there's a proposer for that and seconder, please. Councillor Harry Saville.
To propose that.
Yes, thanks.
Joins that committee.
Second, Chair.
And seconded by Councillor
Ken Stevens.
Ken and Councillor Peter Lewis. Okay, so it's been seconded, been proposed and seconded. Now, if you could do what we did last time to vote to approve that appointment by selecting the green for yes and red for no, and Sally will read out the results. So if I can ask you all to vote now, please.
Yeah, so I have 51 votes for and no votes against.
That's carried. Congratulations, Councillor Ian. And with that, we'll move on to item 8, Standard Committee, and Deleth Jones will introduce this item. Hi, Deleth, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear, thank you, Chair.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
It's the minutes of the Standards Committee are just for noting. There's no need to take a vote on them or anything.
Okay, that's for noting then. So there's no further action on that. Item 9.
Sorry, Chair, could we just have a show of hands? Just we've noted the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, as in literally show of hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the next item is item 9, to receive minutes of minutes 173 from the Audit and Conference Committee held on 30th of September 2020 relating to Treasury management activities and actual potential indicators for 2019 to 2020, and thus to be presented by Councillor John Roberts. Councillor John Roberts, can you
Sorry?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. It's my duty and pleasure to present minutes 173 from the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 30th of October 2020. This relates to Treasury management activity and actual prudential indicators for 2019-20. It's on pages 17 to 20 on your agenda pack. As you can see, it's a very comprehensive and detailed report, and I'm sure that if there are any questions, officers present will be able to help you. Otherwise, I recommend this report to you. Diolch yn fawr, Mr. Cadeirydd.
Okay, I got Councillor Pat, you wanted to speak? Councillor Pat Herborn.
No, I didn't. I put my hand up before Abdul.
Okay. Oh, it must be 18.
The previous minutes.
Please put your hand down now.
My technical hand. My technical hand.
Excellent, no problem. So if there's no question on that report, could we go to the vote, please? It needs a proposer and seconder first, though. So
Happy to propose that,
Councillor Grunway proposed. Any seconder?
I'll second that, Chair.
Councillor. Sorry, who was that? Councillor?
Dave Rees.
Yeah, Dave. Okay, so it's been proposed and seconded. Can we then go to the vote, please? And Sally will read out the result likewise. Okay.
Yeah, so we have 49 votes for, no votes against.
Excellent, that's
Councillor Liz Roberts has her hand up. I don't know if she wishes to speak.
Beg your pardon, hit the wrong knob, sorry.
Okay, so that's carried anyway, yes? Sally?
Yes, that's carried, Chair.
So, okay, thank you. So we'll move
Or
on
everybody.
yeah, thanks. Okay, item 10, annual report 2019 to 2020 for the cooperative plan 2017 and that to 2022. That will be taken by Councillor Chris Cater to present this item, please. Councillor Chris Cater.
Yeah, thank you again, Chairman. So this is the Corporate Plan 2017 to 2022 annual report, and as you said, it's on pages 21 to 121. It's a large report which in draft form has been to informal cabinet, finance and resources scrutiny, and then back to cabinet. It provides evidence of our performance against the wellbeing objectives in the corporate plan for the financial year 2019-2020. Given the significant amount of work that took place during the lockdown, an overview of our response to COVID-19 is also included, as it just wouldn't be appropriate to wait until the autumn of next year to report on this significant area of work. I'd like to thank Fran Lewis, the Corporate Performance and Improvement Manager, and her team, both for the report, of course, but also they were redeployed during the lockdown and were of great value to some of the other services that were under pressure. So I'd like to thank them. The overall performance has indeed been good, but we've also noted areas for improvement because there's always room for improvement. And the full summary is at the start of the report. So just want to mention, I've already done this at Cabinet, but I would like to repeat this for full council, the things we've done well. You know, we've done very well with remote learning. Who would have thought we would be in this position today, but the pandemic has forced this to move on. So remote learning and remote working. The green waste services, well, as you know, Bryson started up. We've also had innovations in housing, the opening of the cultural centre in Conway, and going back to summer 2019, we hosted the Eisteddfod, Longyfarchiadau i Llanrwst. I can't see Councillor Tristan Lewis on the screen. I'm sure he's there, but I don't know whether he's got a look of happiness remembering the Eisteddfod or one of total exhaustion, but
no, indeed.
Sterling
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
So, and then, you know, remembering we do have an important hospitality industry. We had the initiative of the Winter Lights in Llandudno last year, which were very successful. And of course, there's always the statutory responsibilities that we have to tick off, and some of those just grew exponentially during lockdown. The areas that we feel need to work on, improve, well, you know, the financial situation is a great challenge. Brexit is coming on the 1st of January, so we have got a project team in place for that, and they're working on that. Carbon reduction, that's, you know, in all the surveys and everything, that is a real priority for our residents and businesses. So we're looking at all the innovative changes and exciting opportunities. And then there are all the things that are arising from the WorkWise 2020 project. Owing to the pandemic emergency, there is a gap in performance data and benchmark data from an all Wales perspective. I don't think we can expect anything else. So Sally's started putting some infographics up on your screens. So we've got the multicolored snapshot of what the authority does. That's the first one, which is on page 5, and it's all on your screen. If we could then just go to the lockdown COVID response, which is page 12 of the supplementary report and 36 of your pack. So you can see all the incredibly hard work and achievements there that we did during lockdown. And of course, you know, personally, I want to thank the Community Support Service. Look at all those calls and requests that were dealt with. A lot of good work was done for our residents, a lot of whom were shielding, vulnerable people. So that was really good work, and I think that's important to note. If we go to financial summary, the financial summary pie charts, that sets out the council funding and council revenue spending, which I think is really in a multicolour way, puts it out there for everyone to see very clearly. Then on page 18, if we move to the next one, it's based on Band D, property council tax, what your money is spent on each year. And again, I think that is makes it very clear what people's council tax is spent on at the moment. So the recommendation is that the 2019-2020 annual report is approved, and that recommendation is on page 22 of the pack, and it's under point 2. Fran Lewis is here if there are any sort of intricate questions that you wish to ask, but otherwise I would recommend that we do approve this large piece of work.
Does any members wish to ask any questions? Please could you put your hand up? Councillor Peter Lewis.
Well, like you, Chris, I think the report really reflects the good work that this council does, and I hope that it'll be approved now, and that those graphics that you showed earlier will be used by marketing really to inform our residents, because I think there's some statistics there that will be quite eye-opening to them. So I'm happy to second approval of the annual report. Thank you.
Councillor Mike Priestley.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to second that. Just a quick one. Will we be changing the graph from landfill to, I don't know, perhaps a better word, something better from incineration, because it's a bit more positive than just saying landfill, because we're not landfilling at the moment. Well, we're not landfilling permanent, are we?
Yeah, if I could just comment, Chair. Yes, obviously this particular period did cover a part when we were still landfilling. Since Park Adfa came online at the back end of last year, we will have a waste disposal cost rather than landfill in the future, Mike.
Are you happy with the answer, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got Councillor Emma Leighton-Jones. Emma, do you want to come in? Can you hear me, Emma? You've got your hands up. Okay.
Thank you, diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd.
Diolch.
Thank you very much. I do want to come in, and it's just something additional, really. I'd like to thank Chris for taking us through that really important report, and Fran for all the hard work that has gone into that. But I think it's really important to add one more thing. And members, I think you're all aware that we are once more really in the grips of a pandemic response. We are in response mode here in Conwy County. And in light of this, I'd like us to consider the additional pressure that this places on our staff teams. With this in mind, I'd like to add to the recommendation that in order to support our highly trained and valued workforce, I believe that we as the council should recognise that there are times when some items of business might be needed to be deferred until the pressure of this pandemic eases. I think it's important that we recognise the pressures that our staff are under, and I would like to add that to the recommendations if members see fit.
That's on item 10, yes? Emma?
Yes, it is, Chair.
Okay, so Councillor Peter Lewis, are you happy to add that on? Because you are the proposer on that. And Councillor Mike Priestley was the seconder. Are you both happy, or do we need an alternative?
Well, I think in truth, it was Councillor Chris that proposed it after he presented it, in actual fact, and I seconded it. But
Well, yeah, because he presented, I thought he made a recommendation for someone else to propose it. So, I mean, whoever. Chris, do you want to come in? Did you propose it?
I'm happy for Councillor Peter to propose it and Mike to second it. That's fine. And I'm happy with Emma's addition. We're going to go on to the review of the corporate plan next, and Emma's words would be relevant to the recommendations on that as well. But I think it's great that this is included at this point. Thank you.
Okay, so if I can hear from Councillor Peter Lewis now, are you happy with that amendment?
Yes, Chair.
And Councillor Priestley, are you happy to second that?
Yeah, happy with that. I mean, it was only the other day we were hearing about Estin coming in to inspect at such a pressured time. So I think it's absolutely right that we recognise this issue. I was flabbergasted that they're actually coming, because I made the comment that perhaps these should have been furloughed or put to better use. But there you go. Happy with that, Chair.
Thank you. Can I bring Councillor Gareth Jones, please? Councillor Gareth Jones, you've got your hand up.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Cadeirydd, ac dwi'n gwerthfawrogi'n fawr iawn yr adroddiad a'r cynnydd sy'n cael ei wneud dan amgylchiadau ofnadwy o anodd. Y cwestiwn sydd gennai ar rhywbeth sydd wedi mynd braidd yn dawel ydy pa gyfraniad, os o gwbl, fydd y bwrdd gwasanaethau cyhoeddus, y PSB, da ni rhoi dipyn o amser i hwn dros 2-3 blynedd, pa gyfraniad sydd ganddyn nhw i helpu Gonwy, yr awdurdod yma a Dinbych wrth gwrs, i gyflawni agweddau ar y cynllun corfforaethol yma. O be yw'n ni, ella mod i yn anghywir, ond dwi wedi clywed dim am y PSB yn ystod y misoedd pwysig yma, lle ddylia bod pawb yn tynnu at ei gilydd, ac o'n i'n meddwl bod sefydlu bwrdd fel yna yn allweddol, ac yn sicr bydda ganddo fo rôl allweddol ar adegau mor argyfyngus a hyn. Felly, pa beth allwn ni ddisgwyl gan y PSB i sicrhau bod Conwy yn cael y gynhaliaeth, y cymorth yna, i gyflawni amcanion y cynllun corfforaethol. Diolch.
Fran Lewis, will you be able to answer the question, Councillor Gareth Jones posed? Or shall I, or Ewan Davis?
Thanks, Chair. Diolch yn fawr, Gareth, am y cwestiwn. The PSB has been, it hasn't been possible to hold formal meetings with the PSB in recent months. There've been a couple of meetings, I think, 1 or 2, which they haven't been quorate. When we have met, though, we have. It was during a period in the summer we were focusing on what recovery might look like, and we looked at the well-being objectives that the PSB had set for itself or set for our areas, and considered whether they needed to be altered in light of the pandemic. I think my growing view about the PSB is that it served a purpose on a joint Conwy and Denbighshire basis to create some important professional relationships. So, for example, I think partly through the role in the PSB, we and I personally have a much better relationship now with NRW than I had or we had previously, because we spend time in meetings together. And so through that, those relationships building has been a success. But I don't think we can rely on the PSB to help us through this period. It can help in the longer term, the medium longer term recovery phase. But at some point, I think I'll want to talk to you as a council more generally about the benefits of the joint Conway and Denbighshire PSB. It might be time to review where we're at with that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Gareth, do you want to come in?
Yeah. Gai, diolch yn fawr iawn i Iwan am yr atab gofalus yna. A swn i yn cytuno fo i radda pan o'n i'n ymwneud â'r PSB, mi ddaru ni sefydlu gwell perthynas rhwng y gwahanol asiantaethau yna sydd yn allweddol. Ymhwynt i ydy, os ga i ddweud, bod y PSB wedi diflannu ar yr union adag lle mae angen i'r asiantaethau yna gydweithio llawer mwy nag oedden nhw yn ystod y pandemig yma. Ac i mi, yn herma hynny, rai mi ddeitha chi, bod y PSB felly yn fethiant. Dwi yn derbyn rhai o'r agweddau mae Iwan wedi gyfeirio at sgynnau, dwi'n anghytuno ar rheini o gwbl. Ond mae'r corff yma i fod yn ymwneud â lles y cenedlaethau yma a cenedlaethau'r dyfodol. Mae yn ymwneud â deddf a basiwyd gan Llywodraeth Cymru. Ac i mi, mae'n edrych fel sa fo'n yn ddi-rym ac yn ddi-werth ar yr union adag. Mae angen y cydweithio yma a cydweithio llawer mwy effeithiol. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you, Councillor Gareth. Councillor Grunway Edward next, please.
Thank you, Chair. As the member that's been attending the PSB over the last, since my position on the Cabinet, the PSB has a function. It's been performing its function to a degree. I'm not exactly sure what the point Gareth is trying to make, but certainly since lockdown came into place, the officers that serviced the PSB were far more busily involved in dealing with the problems in their own areas and in their own services. To actually hold the PSB seemed a fruitless exercise whilst all the officers were tied up in responding to the current situation. The PSB does need to be reviewed, in my opinion, and it may well be superseded by the new bill that Welsh Government are trying to push through to change the deliveries throughout the regions, which may well supersede the PSB, because at the end of the day, Conway is part of a region, the North Wales region, and most of the partners in that PSB work on a regional basis, and I think it needs to be strengthened on a regional basis if we're actually going to be effective.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Grunway. Councillor Brian Cossey next.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I mean, I'm the current chairman of the PSB Scrutiny Committee, and I just to say I totally agree with Ewan that this does need to be reviewed. But I think it's totally unfair to say that the members who sit on the PSB aren't working together, because that's exactly what they're doing during this pandemic. You know, NRW, police, fire service, Betsy Cadwallader, everybody is cooperating anyhow. This body was supposed to look more to the future than the current situation. But I totally agree with you on that the PSB needs to be reviewed.
Thank you, Councillor Brian. I don't have any other hands up. So if there's no, do you want Councillor Gareth Jones?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. If I may say, I'm glad of at least a response from Brian and Goronwy. All I'm saying as an ordinary elected member is how can we evaluate what the PSB is doing unless that we have any updates? We've heard nothing about it. So at least I'll succeed possibly in awakening that and get for our next council meeting or whatever, as Brian said, the scrutiny, for information as to what the PSB is actually doing at this really critical time for us. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Councillor Gareth. I think I'm going to go to vote now. So it's been
Councillor Liz Roberts with a hand up, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Liz, do you want to come in then? You're the last speaker, I think.
Thank
Yes.
you. I'm really pleased that Gareth brought this up, because I've always in my mind seen the PSB as being a real leader in the field. But to be honest, I agree with Gareth, and I think it does need to be reviewed, because it may well be a group that meets, but is effective. And that's what I would like to know, please.
I think Councillor, the Chief Executive has already indicated that he will do a presentation on that at a later date. I don't know if if you want to come in, or I'm going to vote soon. Go to the vote soon. Do you want to come in?
Just to say, I welcome the prompt from Councillor Gareth, because as I say, in my mind, that I was starting to come to a view that I wanted to share with you about how the PSB is operating. So I think it's timely, it's fair, and I'm not saying I'll be bringing something to you soon, but in good time.
Okay, thank you.
Have Councillor Harry.
Councillor Harry, do you want to come on that subject?
Yeah, I was just going to say on the note of we don't hear what the PSB is doing. We had a PSB annual report which went to the PSB Scrutiny Committee via email on the 14th of August. You know, we've had effectively a debate we're having today. We had a similar report come to the Joint Scrutiny Committee only a couple of months ago. So, I mean, I just wonder whether or not some of this confusion might be cleared up if that report was shared with our wider membership. It's just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. Councillor Ronnie Hughes, you put your hand up as well. Councillor Ronnie Hughes, please. Councillor Ronnie, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Go on.
I agree with what Harry just said. You know, we can have an argument in full council today. You know, you're getting, I'm listening to the conversation. You once said there hasn't sat a lot, and for a good reason. So there needs to be a discussion in the council, and we have a format in place. Scrutiny. There should be a scrutiny committee sitting to discuss the problems that everybody's discussed today. Simple as.
Thank you, Councillor Ronnie. Now I'm going to go to the vote now, please. It's again, yes, tick to say yes or cross to say no. We already had a proposer and seconder. It was proposed by Councillor Peter Lewis and seconded by Councillor Mike Priestley. Please vote.
Okay, I have 49 votes for and no votes against.
Okay, so it's carried. Thank you, everyone. Item 11 next, annual review of the corporate plan 2017 to 2022, and it's Councillor Chris Cater again to present this item.
Thank you again, Chair. Yes, this is the annual review of the corporate plan, and it starts on page 122 of your pack. You know, although the corporate plan covers the 5-year administration, we have a statutory obligation to review it annually. So this is what this is. An engagement exercise with the community took place pre-lockdown, and a report was prepared to present to democracy in March and April of this year. For obvious reasons, this didn't take place as the authority moved into the, you know, the COVID response mode. So as we move back to recovery action planning, a light touch review of the corporate plan took place again in August. basically to reflect on the impact of the national pandemic and to reflect on any changes in our priorities. So the changes have been highlighted in red, and it should be noted that some performance measures do not have targets as yet. We undertake a target setting process every year, and these meetings were cancelled due to the March lockdown. There aren't any dates planned as yet. We're starting to work on dates, but we put those to one side again with the partial lockdown and then us moving into this fire break. There's just too much uncertainty going forward, so no dates for those have been planned as yet. If you have a look at the highlighted red areas, you'll see that some of them pertain to education, and those are really out of our control. The Welsh Government have an agenda to change how we measure education performance, and Councillor Julie has been through this before with us. So if there are any questions about that, I think we'll direct those to Councillor Julie, but she has gone through those points before. Some of the safeguarding changes are also highlighted in red, you'll notice. So we'll continue to strive to achieve on all the objectives. However, there is one proviso coming back to the pandemic. It continues to develop, and the authority's responsibility is to support the Welsh response, the national response, the UK response, and this may result in further refocusing of our priorities. As you know, we're going back into a form of emergency response mode tomorrow. So given the time of this review, which is unusually late on in the year, it is, I think, sensible to set the objectives for an 18-month period, which takes us to the end of the administration and the corporate plan timeframe. Fortunately, we've just received clarity from Audit Wales that we can cover the full 18-month period as part of this review. Just mentioning the new corporate plan, there should be assessments for that coming through in May 21, which would go to members in June 21, and then we would have full consultation in summer 2021, with a view to getting a new corporate plan draft in early 2022. Just regarding this consultation next summer, we'll have to think carefully about consulting our communities, looking perhaps at using local social media more, perhaps working more through town and community councils. Ironically, one positive from the pandemic period has been the increase in Facebook followers that the council has. However, I know in my ward that digital exclusion is a hurdle, and that's something that we need to consider carefully. There are plenty of people without iPhones and computers and so on. So yeah, that's something that has to be tackled. I also want to mention that there is an open invitation on the web for our residents and businesses to give their views. That is up and running and continues. So the recommendation is on page 123, and it's in two parts. 2.1, that the proposed changes to the corporate plan 2017-2022 are approved. And the second part, given that we've had permission to run for the 18-month period from Audit Wales, I think 2.2 should read that the corporate plan review is approved for an 18-month period, negating the need to undertake a further review in February and March 2021. So I open that up to the members.
Thank you, Councillor Chris. Councillor Nigel Smith, you put your hand up first. Can I bring in Councillor Nigel Smith, please?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chris, for the report. I would like to propose it. I would also like to comment, it's all right having a corporate plan, but it's how you implement the plan. And I've noticed on item 5 that people in Conway live in a prosperous economy, and locally, through the work of the local members, officers and cabinet members, we have managed to reopen the Tirclwyd for development, which will bring prosperity to the economy and jobs to the county of Conway. But I'm also mindful of corporate priority 3, which people in Conway have access to affordable, appropriate and good quality accommodation that enhances the quality of their lives. And I do hope to work with Councillor Charlie McCoubrey on this, because in the east of the county, where we suffer with the flood of 30 years ago, where it has halted any development housing wise in the east, we have a real problem here with a number of single elderly residents living in inappropriate housing that they are finding hard to heat and to maintain. And we also have the other end of the spectrum, where we have young people and young families who are setting out on their life, who have difficulty in finding appropriate accommodation for themselves, because the houses are being blocked by these elderly residents who would love to move out into sheltered accommodation or the likes of, but are debarred from that unless they move from the local community that they've lived in and grown up in. And I think we need to reflect on this locally so that the plan works for all the residents, even those in the flood zone areas. Thank you, Chair.
Just to clarify, you were proposing 2.1 and 2.2. Nigel?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Philip Evans, please.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a question really for the Cabinet member. I appreciate this isn't the arena for discussing particular cases, but I would like to know what specific steps are taken as part of the consultation to consult with small businesses in particular, probably via the forum of the Small Business Federation, because there are instances where perhaps we're not being as helpful as we can to small businesses in this particularly difficult time. Various Cabinet members are aware of the issues I raised, but I would like some assurance that small businesses will not be forgotten in this exercise.
Councillor Chris Cater.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a definite assurance of that, Councillor Philip. You know, we're going to up our consultation with small businesses. You know, it is crucial, and I can assure you that. We, you know, Fran Lewis has sent invitations out to them all in the first consultation to get their views via John Merrick's team, and you know, we will be taking further consultation with them very seriously. Thank you for raising it.
Are you happy with the answer, Councillor Evans?
Yes, I'm reassured by Chris's comments, and hopefully something positive will result from it.
Thank you for your question. I have proposal, but I haven't got a seconder yet, and there's no other speakers. So anybody like?
Happy to second it.
I'll second it, Chairman.
I'll second it. Chair.
Okay, so we've got about 10 seconders. That's fine. We'll go to the vote then. Yes to accept, no to reject, if you like. So tick for yes and cross for no. Oops.
Can I just confirm, Chairman, that the 2.2 has been slightly amended, that we just go to approval for the 18-month period, as we've had
That's you already read that out.
Thank you. Just to make sure. Thank you.
That's fine. That's fine. So yes, so Sally, I think, is carried.
Okay. Yeah, so I have 49 votes for. I have 1 vote against, which was Councillor Anne McCaffrey. But yeah, that's carried, Chair.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think on next items, I have already declared interest, and I'd like to request Councillor Evo to take the next item, please. and you can put me in the waiting room, Sally.
Iawn. Mae 'na swp ohonych chi fan I fewn i'r gorlan. So, I pawb sydd wedi penderfynu eistedd allan, newch chi fynd wan, please. Diolch yn fawr. Di'r cyfieithiad yn gweithio'n iawn? Yndi, iawn. Ardderchog. Iawn. Eitem 12 ar eich agenda. Lefel y gostyngiad yn rheth y cyngor ar gyfer ei ailgartrefi a chartrefi gwyliau ac eiddo gwag hir dymor ac eiddo sydd heb ei dodrefnu ac ar gyfer 2021 a 2022. Mae gen I yn ffrind a aelod cabinet Charlie McCoubry I arwain ar hwn, os gwelwch yn dda.
Thank you very much, Chair. If members would like to go to page 154, we have to make a decision annually as to whether we give a discount to holiday homes and long-term empty homes. This is not to be confused with a separate meeting where we make a decision whether to apply a premium. That will happen later in the year. In December, members will be aware that we currently charge a 25% premium on second homes and long-term empty homes. But the decision here is whether we apply a discount. It's been a number of years since we have applied a discount, given the financial difficulties this council faces. The recommendations are that we do not apply a discount, go to 2.1. The recommendation is the council continues not to apply a discount in respect of second homes and holiday homes and long-term unoccupied and unfurnished properties in prescribed classes A, B and C for the financial year. I'm sure we'll have a very long and heated discussion when we come to discuss the additional premiums, but I think this is a fairly straightforward proposal, so I shall leave it there and look forward to members' comments.
Diolch yn fawr. Cynghorydd Charlie. Os rwy'n eisiau siarad ar hwn?
Diolch, dwi'n siarad llaw hynny.
Cynghorydd Gomri, yeah.
Yeah, diolch, Charlie, thank you, Iwan. Yeah, I fully support the recommendation. I believe that we should not be giving any discounts for empty or second homes, so I would be happy to move the recommendation.
Diolch yn fawr. Sgynna I eilydd os gwch dda?
Oes, na eilio hwnna.
Yes, I will second.
Iawn, a ni cadw'n hyn yn andros o syml. Gawn ni fynd i'r bleidlais os gwch dda?
Sorry, Chair, I think Councillor Ken Stevens wishes...
Oh, sorry, mae'n ddrwg yna. Mae'n ddrwg yna. Okay.
I just wanted to second it, it's all right.
That's it, that's okay, that's cemented now, thank you. Diolch yn fawr. So, eto, ga I fynd i'r bleidlais os gwch dda? Pwyswch gwyrdd I gytuno neu coch I wrthod. Pawb I pleidleisio?
Got 44 votes for, Chair, none against.
Diolch yn fawr, mae hynny wedi gario. A na I handio'n dol I gloi i'r cadeirydd Abdul. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chairman. Councillor Ivor came in this morning and he said, you're Batman and I'm Robin. I said, we're not in the Gotham City, and if we were, I would have been the Robin and he would have been the Batman. So we done our bit. Just lastly to say thank you, members and officers, for attending to this morning's meeting. Stay safe and goodbye.
Diolch, Abdul. Thank you very
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Thank you, Abdul.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Diolch Abdul, hwyl fawr I gyd.